for the hardest-hitting show in talk radio. The true progressive voice since 2012. This is Southpaws.
And welcome to Southpaws on the Pacifica Radio Network. We are the leaders of the revolution. My name is Darren Gibson. I'm your host today. Jack Prince is not available for recording today. We were actually going to air one of our episodes that we just recorded, but we're having to save that because the Friday after Christmas when we normally record, I'm not available to record. So we're going to save that special episode for about a couple of weeks, and I'll fill you in on what we're going to discuss on that show. In the meantime, you can follow us on social media by going to facebook.com/Southpaws Radio Show. You can follow us on Twitter at Southpaws Radio. You can become a patron of the show by going to patreon.com/Southpaws Radio. You can listen to the show anytime you like at Spreaker.com. Do a search for Southpaws there. You can find us at the iTunes Store. Do a search for Southpaws under podcasts, and when you found our logo, you found us. Our episodes also automatically go to our YouTube page. Do a search at youtube.com. Look for Southpaws Radio there as well. And, of course, you can find us on great Pacifica stations across the country, including KCEI-FM Taos, New Mexico, KZGM Kabul, Missouri, and at Global Community Radio Channel 1 every Monday night at 9 p.m. We're on right after Democracy Now!, so make sure you check us out there. As I mentioned, the episode that we're going to release on December 27th will be a special one-hour discussion on mental illness. And this came up as a topic because a recent survey just came out that showed that Grand Rapids, among large cities, that cities with a population of over 1 million, is the most depressed city in the country, among large cities. Among all cities, Grand Rapids is number 9. But what do the cities that have high rates of depression have in common? Well, you'll have to find out on Friday, December 27th, when we release that episode. And, of course, that will air as our regular weekly episode for Pacifica and for Global Community Radio. So make sure you check that out. In the meantime, let's go to some of the topics making the news this week. The British election, for one. I have a summary from the British Broadcasting Company. It says here, Conservatives win large majority, and here's the current summary as we record this episode. The Conservatives have 365 seats, Labour has 203, the SNP has 48, the Liberal Democrats have 11, the DUP has 8. Sinn Féin has 7, Plaid Cymru has 4, the SDLP has 2, the Green Party and the Alliance Party each have 1. So Boris Johnson's party has the largest Tory majority since 1987. Johnson says that he will repay the trust of voters and lead a people's government. He has apparently been to see the Queen and is speaking outside 10 Downing Street. He's urged the UK to unite and said this, quote, everyone to find closure and to let the healing begin, end of quote. Yeah, well, Boris Johnson's kind of the UK's equivalent of Donald Trump. In the meantime, Jeremy Corbyn says that he did everything he could to win and that he will stand down as Labour leader next year. Jo Swinson loses her seat, stands down as the Liberal Democrat leader, and she has urged her party to regroup. Nicola Sturgeon says the Prime Minister has no right to block another Scottish independence referendum. As a matter of fact, that's probably going to happen within the next year or so. So we will see what happens. The Brexit bill will go before the British government next Friday. So we'll see what happens there. So, yes, the Conservatives win in the UK. What does that mean for the US? Probably bad news, since Boris Johnson's basically Donald Trump with a funny little accent, although not quite as bad as Trump. But we're going to get to some Trump news because the vote was held this morning as we started recording this show, and it looks like there's going to be 2 articles of impeachment against Trump that have been filed. As a matter of fact, I want to get to something that I saw in my email. The American Civil Liberties Union sent out this email late Thursday, December 12th. Let me read this. Last night, the ACLU National Board of Directors voted to support the impeachment of Donald Trump 55-2. These are extraordinary circumstances, and we don't take the decision lightly. We believe that Trump has indeed committed impeachable offenses and has violated his oath to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution. His violations include abusing the powers of the executive office to further his personal and political interests rather than those of the nation, improperly invoking executive immunity and instructing government officials and agencies to refuse to testify or produce congressionally subpoenaed witnesses and documents, thereby improperly obstructing a congressional investigation, obstructing an inquiry into Russian interference in the 2016 election, including by firing officials and directing others to lie about the investigation. This is the second instance in the ACLU's nearly 100-year history since Richard Nixon that our board of directors has voted to support the impeachment of a president. We believe that Trump's continuation in office poses a grave and imminent threat to civil liberties, and that he will continue to pursue illegal means to influence the 2020 election and to impede lawful efforts to reveal any such wrongdoing. As impeachment hearings proceed, the ACLU will remain steadfast in our commitment to protect the Constitution and the rights of all people. We're stronger than ever thanks to you and our millions of supporters nationwide who believe, like we do, that nobody is above the law, including the president. And it's signed For Democracy, Anthony D. Romero, Executive Director, ACLU. Let me just reread a portion of this. And they bolded this. We believe that Trump's continuation in office poses a grave and imminent threat to civil liberties. This is the ACLU saying this. You folks out there better be scared. You better listen, and you better be shaking in your boots. This is a danger to the continuation of this country, and we've said that for a couple of years on this show. We're not kidding when we say this. You should probably pay heed to what we're saying. As a matter of fact, I want to get to some other news here. Speaking of Trump, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and go right into our next segment, which we normally wouldn't do this early, but I'm just in one of those moods, so let's play the appropriate music.
Stop! Hammer time!
Oh yeah, it's hammer time. It's time to drop the hammer on the douchebag of the week, and we've got a couple of winners this week. Actually, we have one group of winners, and then we have one individual award. So let's get to our individual award. Winner number 1, Donald Trump. And I have this story. This is from CNN by Veronica Stacqualarzi. Listen to this. This comes on the heels of Time magazine revealing that Greta Thunberg is Time's Person of the Year. This is out of Washington. Donald Trump on Thursday again publicly mocked teen climate crisis activist Greta Thunberg, tweeting that the 16-year-old Swede who has inspired protesters worldwide has anger management issues. Thunberg, who was named Time magazine's Person of the Year earlier this week over Trump, has sternly castigated world leaders for not doing enough to combat the climate crisis and memorably stared down Trump at the UN General Assembly in September. She has been open about her diagnosis of Asperger's, calling it a superpower that helps her activism. Trump wrote Thursday morning on Twitter this, quote, "So ridiculous, Greta must work on her anger management problem, then go to a good old-fashioned movie with a friend. Chill, Greta, chill. End of quote. This was responding to a tweet congratulating Thunberg on being named Person of the Year. Trump frequently attacks and mocks political enemies on Twitter and previously went after Thunberg in September, though his Thursday morning broadside was still jarring coming from a sitting U.S. president against a teenager. Following Trump's tweet, Thunberg updated her Twitter bio to reflect Trump's comments. Quote, a teenager working on her anger management problem, currently chilling and watching a good old-fashioned movie with a friend. End of quote. In September, following her excoriation of world leaders at the United Nations, Trump tweeted of Thunberg, quote, she seems like a very happy young girl looking forward to a bright and wonderful future. So nice to see. End of quote. At the time, Thunberg also updated her Twitter bio to refer to herself using Trump's words. Former Vice President Joe Biden, who's running for president, chastised the president for his tweet. Here's what Biden wrote on Twitter. Quote, what kind of president bullies a teenager? Real Donald Trump, you could learn a few things from Greta on what it means to be a leader. End of quote. Time magazine announced Wednesday that it had chosen Thunberg as its Person of the Year, making her the youngest individual to be recognized. Time editor-in-chief Edward Felsenthal wrote, quote, Thunberg has become the biggest voice on the biggest issue facing the planet and the avatar of a broader generational shift in our culture that is playing out everywhere from the campuses of Hong Kong to the halls of Congress in Washington. End of quote. Trump, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, the whistleblower who sparked the impeachment inquiry, and Hong Kong protesters were on the short list for who has been the most influential this year. Trump deeply covets being Person of the Year. He thanked Time when he was chosen in 2016 and lashed out at the magazine a year later when he was passed over. Well, because Donald Trump is an angry little child who needs a spanking and a diaper change. Probably needs a bottle too. I'm just going to put it like that, folks. Sorry, you Republicans. This show's not for you anyway, so just get out of here with your bullying of a teenager. And by the way, I had to ban a user on our official Facebook page who called Greta Thunberg an idiot. My response was, you're an idiot coming on my page criticizing a teenager. You're banned. Sorry, call it denial of First Amendment, call it whatever. It's not a First Amendment issue. I'm not Congress. I'm not a government. I have the right to summarily ban whoever the hell I want to off of my page that I spend time and money on. So there. Don't like it? Go elsewhere. That includes some of you so-called quote-unquote progressives who want to criticize me as well. Matter of fact, here's winner number 2 of Hammer Time this week. The Kent County Democratic Party leadership. I want to read this. Peter Ricketson is a friend of the show. He's been on the show once. I want to read his post from Facebook. He posted this on Thursday. Wednesday at the Kent County Democratic Party meeting, the leadership on the executive board called out Jeff Winston for his behavior. And by the way, Jeff Winston just a few weeks ago was a winner of Douchebag of the Week because he physically blocked another listener of ours from holding up a sign on live national television that said the Bernie won 70 counties in Michigan. So Jeff Winston continues to show his bullying behavior, my opinion. I've been a victim of his, I know. Peter continues, they would not call it bullying. Winston received no punishment for what was clearly bullying and censorship of speech. The membership then voted down my resolution to investigate further. If they did investigate and find him guilty, he could be appropriately punished. The membership refused to even investigate Jeff Winston and the incident in question. To say I am ashamed of this organization is an understatement. And he continues on. He's planning on holding Bernie rallies before each of their monthly meetings, and he's going to fight him. And Pete's a guy you want on your side if you're in for a fight. So apparently the vote was 17-14